Paul's letter to the Galatians. It was written in a number of churches as Paul has traveled missionary journey. You hear the story of the book of Acts. He wrote this important letter from the deep passion, frustration. The backstory. Christianity began as a Jewish mechanic movement in Jerusalem. It was a message for all humanity. So it was quickly spread. At Paul's time as missionary, there was many Jews. People are Jesus movement. This sparked a huge debate that we know about the book of Acts chapter 15. Is the where the covenant people of God, Israel, who set apart practice the command of Torah, like a circumcision of males, eating kosher, observing the Sabbath. There's many Jewish Christians who believe that all these non-Jews should become part of God's family and needed to be the laws of Torah. So some of these Jewish Christians came to come to Galatian churches on demanding Paul, demanding circumstance for all these males, non-Jewish Christians. So many of them were, when Paul found out, he was brokenhearted and angry. His letter is the result. First challenge is the Galatians, which is a summary of the gospel, crucified at Messiah. He argues this is the gospel. He creates the family of Jesus' family, Abraham. Then he shows how the gospel is truly transform people, presence the power of the Spirit. He's opening by expressing his wilderness that Galatians have embraced a different gospel. This is the one promoted by the Christians who badmouth Paul and demand circumcision. So Paul defends the authoritarianism of his message, authority as apostle. He was commissioned by the risen Jesus himself to the non-Jewish world. And to start the book of Acts, Paul says it was not later he was with Jerusalem to consult the other apostles like Peter and James. And when he told them he was requiring non-Jewish Christians to be circumcised, but they were full support, the tension ran deeper. Peter had come to Antioch and visited all the non-Christians and eating with them, mingling with them. But with some of the Jerusalem observant group showed up in Antioch, Peter gave under pressure, stopped eating with uncircumcised Christians, he avoiding them. And Paul also confronted and accused Peter of hypocrisy, not staying true to the gospel. For Paul demanding these new Christians to be circumcised the Torah was all kinds of reasons, wrong-headers. First of all, because of the betrayal of the gospel. Or in other words, people weren't justified by the works of the Torah, but rather the faith in Jesus of Messiah. And we have the faith from Messiah. Justified, literally, to become righteous, the old rich testament term for Paul. And God declares someone is in the right relationship with Him. They're forgiven, they're given place for God's faith, they're being transformed by God's grace. It's Paul's conviction, no one is justified by observing of the commands of the Torah, but only by the faith of Jesus. This dense phrase, it could be referred to Jesus' own faithfulness, living and dying by himself, or it could be referred to as trust in Jesus. He was justified through the trusting in what God did to him through Jesus, not what they did for themselves. The heart of the Paul's gospel is when people trust in Messiah Jesus, through him becomes true of them. His life and death, resurrection became theirs. In other words, I've been crucified with the Messiah. It's not I who come back to life. It is the Messiah living in me. And life I'm living by faith by the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. So the reason anyone can say, for God to belong to Jesus' covenant family, not because they obey the laws of Torah, is only because how Jesus did for them and never did for themselves. Not this profound understanding for Jesus' accomplishments. This huge implication who cannot be included in God's covenant family and what it means to live as a member of the family. So Paul turns the story of Abraham in Genesis, how he justified and declared righteous before God by simply faith, by trusting God's promises. The one day all nations would find God's blessing through him, his offspring. God purposed only had a large multi-ethnic family of people, heard to him on the basis of faith, not in the laws of Torah. Here's an important question. Why did God give the laws of Torah to Israel then? Here Paul offers a very brief dance. He would later fill out a letter to the Romans. So the laws of the Torah were given to Mount Sinai, like God's promise to Abraham. If you read the Torah carefully, he sees that God always intended the laws to be temporary measure. He sees the laws as both negative positive rule. Negatively, the laws acted like a magnifying glass on Israel's sin. This was how Israel shared the sinful human condition of rebelling against God's flaws. So the law, which is good, and in pronouncing Israel's guilty, all many with them, are his words. Law and prison on their part of sin. Law is also a positive rule. Acted like a strict school teacher who kept Israel in line until the coming promised offspring Abraham and the Messiah. Once the Messiah came, he fulfilled the promise of the law of Israel's behalf. Jesus was a faithful Israelite, truly loved God and neighbors, and Israel's king. He died to take the curse and the consequence fair unto himself and bring redemption. So now through Jesus, the offspring was going to come to all the people, regardless of ethnic and social status or gender. For Paul requiring Torah observers non-Jewish Christians. Makes no sense. Acting if Jesus did not fulfill God's promise, or to do what our sins, neglect for a new freedom, aim through the gift of the Spirit, and limits God's promise and blessing to other ethnic families. Paul's opponent might argue, laws of the Torah, they are proving God, living according to God's will. How non-Jewish Christians learn this? Paul responds in the chapters 5 and 6, by transforming the Spirit is the key. Laws of the Torah are good, they're wise, Paul says. In fact, they ought to be summarized, as Jesus did. When to love your neighbor as yourself, when the laws as good as they are, do not give Israel the power to obey them. In contrast, the good news is Jesus did fulfill the law on our behalf. Now he lives through the Spirit, making people into new humans by filling the law, loving others. So Paul goes to contrast old and new humanity. That means the old humanity, his behaviors that unionize people, share relationships, and whole communities. The laws of the Torah prohibit these behaviors. It actually put them to death on the cross. So person trusts in Jesus, who lives dependent spirit. His life becomes theirs, and produces what Paul calls the fruit of the Spirit. Jesus' ways of life. Once he reproduces his own new family that become people of love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, repentance, choosing self-control. Fruit is not automatic, Paul says. It requires cultivation, just like our fruit. In other words, if we live by the Spirit, we have to keep step in the Spirit. It requires intentionality. We have to learn how to prune off the old habits, cultivate new ones. As we do so, find us carry along by the Spirit. Jesus reshapes our minds and hearts, make us the people who God loves and others. In this way, Jesus be fulfilled. Paul's called the Torah of the message, or the Messiah. Requirements Christians become Torah. So there's an adventure and the missing the point. What really matters, God, the creation. His new one of the family, Omani Messiah. You're filled with faith in Jesus, and learning to love God and others in the power of the Spirit. That's what the Galatians is all about.